Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode, or what could actually quite possibly be the final episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. The way it's building up, it really could be, and I'm pretty sure this is the last case. I remember there were 5 cases altogether, so if we're coming to the end of the 5th, this will be the last one. So, welcome to the ride of what may potentially be the final episode and a wrap up of this insane roller coaster of a case. Oh my god. Now then, will the defendant Miss Lana Skye please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Now then, your testimony if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony, Lana. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana... If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been trying to tell you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she is telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. I worked alongside Gant for years. How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Skye were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective. That is why there's no truth to this blackmail theory. But think about it, Miss Skye. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana. So that's why you fabricated evidence 2 years ago. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself. Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Doc? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Doc was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So when you found a scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside a wound, then moved the body. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's wound, and then you moved the body. But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of— Ow! The others. I hit my mic. I'm so sorry that you guys heard that. Ow. I think it's obvious why she planted the knife, to convict Joe Dark. I think the better question is, why does she feel the need to move the body? That I still don't understand. I mean, this planted the type nip. God damn it! The knife tip! No, you bastard! Oh, fine. But why did you do that? Oh, come now, Mr. Wright. Even you should be able to figure it out. Very well, let's add this to the witness's testimony. The reason this guy fabricated the knife. I knew the tip of the weapon was found buried in the body would be all the proof we needed. According to your testimony, Prosecutor Marshall's broken knife was the murder weapon, right? Yes, and leaving it at that might point the blame away from Dark. I felt the most effective way to get him convicted would be by having the tip of his knife found inside the victim's body. So you buried it inside the victim's stab wound? Yes, because I hated Dark for what he did. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it. Period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact that you're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister is lying. Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. But there's no way she could have done it alone. I've got to get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. Yes, and I asked the wrong dang question. No, not that. Can I get the next question? Yes, yada yada yada. Yes. Wait, did I already get this? Oh yeah, that's why. Yes. Let's continue on, please, for the love of God. I don't know if you can hear this, but I am rapidly clicking my mouse right now. No, wait, is that really all I can do? I cannot ask the other question? Are you kidding me? Oh no, never mind. Duh. Okay. I was in the wrong spot. Okay, I was in a complete— I was 2 testimonies behind. Why did you move the body? This time I got the right damn question. God dang it. The question that I wanted to ask, because I already knew why you planted the knife tip. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Sky moved the body. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Pieces of the jar? You mean... Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you look at the crime scene, it would have been clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Drake was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have broken during their struggle. I see. What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there is more to it than that. There must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. And that's where the contradiction lies. I know what the problem is. She is claiming here... I mean, when we delve further into the testimony, she said that the jar must have broke at the moment Neil Marshall died. But that's not true, because if it broke at the moment Neil Marshall died, then there is no way in hell that the name Emma would be written on this jar, and then pieced together to be so perfect to spell out Emma. Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene when Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life, they will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet to have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. The order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody method. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor? It seems you are as in the dark as we are, about the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. Very well. The witness may continue her testimony. Ah, shite. One moment. My mouse is being stupid funky, and I am getting stupid pissed at it. Okay, there we go. Jesus. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood? I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier. It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case, but not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You are an ex-detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. However, it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you'd do that for me? Seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came. This is rather shocking. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened. What do you mean? If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. The fragments were large, so I'm pretty sure I got them all. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes, I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident. No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office. More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. I already know what the problem is too. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. She did not. There was one piece that was missing, and conveniently enough, it was found in Damon Gant's safe. And it was a piece that was not wiped away. Miss Guy, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it. But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them. Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. Well, that may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Can you believe that? Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. Oh, that. There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for a dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break a jar? The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? No! Huh? Wait, I'm not the one on trial here. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would Chief Gant do that? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear? What happened afterwards? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark. sparing Emma. And therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Sky became the chief's puppet. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies. Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem like the type who twists the truth. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana. She may be right after all. What do you mean, right? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Sky, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall, it might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Sky, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. Alright. The witness may testify once more for the final time. The judge is losing patience with her. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I then had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if that really all was just fabrication, then Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable! The body was impaled on the armor's sword. You are the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. Huh? I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took at the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Well, Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Well, let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. Well, she did give us a book on evidence law. I assumed then that was just a front. She really has the picture in there. That's what I figured. I mean, I couldn't open the front, so I figured open in the back, and then yep, it's the back. Hey, there's a picture here. Oh, I am pressing the wrong button. There we go. Oh God. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had arranged everything. Mr. Wright! The crime scene photo was taken 2 years ago. This is exactly as she saw it when she came in. Prosecutor Neil Marshall impaled by the suit of armor. His heart nicked and his heart was nicked and his lung was punctured. That piece cut out from his vest. Could that be The cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe. What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whosever fingerprints those are, must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flesh out the real murderer. Oh god. The cloth proves that Emma killed Neil Marshall. She pushed him into the suit of armor. And it was cut out. Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. I think we're right. Gant did go into there first, because why else would there be a cut-off piece of cloth? Gant was there and cut off the piece of cloth and put it in his safe, while also destroying the vase. I still wonder though, could Gant still be anticipating this? Knowing Chief Gant, he has something else up his sleeve, even when he's not in the courtroom. He has something else up his sleeve. I shouldn't take that cloth at face value, at least not yet. It's too obvious. It's too obvious. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled. What the hell? Oh, for the love of God, speak of the devil! Oh, come now, Ajay. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant. What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy, too? Well, if so, I'd like to put a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose slowly tightening around your neck. So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you have some conclusive evidence? Oh, no I don't. But someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Ratto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death? Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt. Is this true, Mr. Wright? If I show that piece of evidence now, Emma's sure to be made out as a murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any evidence now, present it. And if you do try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. What do I do now? Better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? No. I can't yet. No. He's goading us into showing that piece of evidence. He's goading us into it. That means he has a trick up his sleeve. I told you before Gant came in, that I'm not taking that cloth at face value. Not yet, at least. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm still seeing it at face value, that it has Emma's fingerprints. There has to be a deeper meaning behind it. There has to be. And Chief Gant wants us to only see the face value. No. No, 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 no. I don't care if this ends up damning me in the butt later on. I am not playing his game. Where's my mouse? There we go. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? Huh, you lied. Chief Gant, you opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. But Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out, Worthy? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? Well, it looks like a part of it's been cut out for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe? What? That means that you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it? I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. He's making a confession. He's confessing, so it's not the same as a testimony. It's not the same as testifying. It's to say something on your behalf or against an allegation. A confession is actually admitting to something, and the court will allow him to do that. Just a little bit of legal jargon there as to why he can now talk, because he's confessing. I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dock convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence. You mean those items in your safe? But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance. I was sure my plan would work, but it was always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for the murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for, Ajay? A fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck, you know. See this jaw fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to end up wiping the blood off the rest of the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jaw, too? Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Oh, come on now, Righto. Cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe. Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have... Blah. Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Righto. You should have known. You should have shown it then before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. I knew there was something behind the scenes with that cloth. He's just admitted that he personally cut away that cloth for insurance. He fabricated that evidence. I think I'm safe to do that now. He personally cut away that cloth from Neil Marshall. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Yep. Yes, Chief Gant. Your testimony just now has been extremely helpful in showing the darkness that hides behind this piece of cloth. It has Emma Sky's fingerprints and it proves she pushed him. But what it also proves now is that you cut that cloth away from Neil Marshall's body. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes! At last you've finally brought it out into the open, Righto. The handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that it be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean, it could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. You're as slow on the uptake as ever, were they? What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present his evidence, and yet he was reluctant to do so. Now why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? But, Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well. I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is Emma Sky. Emma Sky did not murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The prints only prove that she pushed him. That's all it proves. Nothing, though, is stopping us from saying that Prosecutor Marshall merely hit his head on something and fell unconscious. There's no conclusive evidence that she pushed him into the suit of armor. So then that begs the question. If Emma did not push him into the suit of armor, who else had the opportunity to do so? The person who has just admitted he saw the scene of the crime before Lana Sky. Damon Gant. I knew that cloth had something besides its face value, and I was right. Emma Sky! What? They're mine? Sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and yet you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. How could you? You monster! Miss Sky, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, and yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career, too. You purposefully concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. Oh, what's the matter? Can't got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I'd like to have cleared up. Oh? And what would that be? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? Well, it was Emma Skye, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling on about? I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. And I know what that issue is too. He cut this cloth personally from Prosecutor Neil Marshall's chest. And his claim is that he cut it after Neil Marshall died. And yet if that were the case... Look at that! Look at that! Look at all that blood! All that blood flowing out of his mouth from a punctured lung. It even stained his white coat. And I have already seen that piece of cloth many, many times. That piece of cloth is spotless, and yet his vest is also bloody. Sorry, but that piece of cloth was cut out before his lung was punctured. And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Skye took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out? Yes, his short is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked in blood. Of course, that's only natural. His lungs were no doubt punctured. Blood poured from his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth! Wait, there's no blood on it. Ah! Since Emma Skye's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Skye, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece from the victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. No! It's finally over. Oh, that was close, Righto. You almost had me there. Huh? Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, Ajay, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Are you kidding me? Order! What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Ajay? Earlier, old Righto here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Righto? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this time. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair. Did you actually think you could best me in court, Righto? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth? True. Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright? No. The evidence was already oh wait, I'll tell you later. It seems, at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposefully and illegally concealed this piece of cloth? No. That piece of cloth was already illegal to begin with. Think about it. The only reason we were able to enter Damon Gant's office was because of Gumshoe's help. But even then, it was not a sanctioned investigation. So anything that was found there, especially in his safe, is illegal. It is illegal. So when I had that cloth at first, when he asked me to present it, it was already illegal. I couldn't have presented then. Case in point, I get it now. Case in point to evidence law. Rule number 1. Illegal evidence cannot be presented... Evidence that has not been processed properly with the police department cannot be presented in court. However, there is a rule to circumvent that. Illegal evidence must have clear relevancy at the case at hand. Damon Gant, when you admitted that you cut that piece of cloth, you admitted relevancy. So no, I did not purposefully conceal evidence. I admit I refused to present it at one point. Aha! So the evidence is illegal! No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Ajay! Don't listen to his lies! He's nothing but a coward! You can't really believe! There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well. Let us settle this once and for all. Earlier you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now. Clear, cut, simple. The rule of evidence. That's not what I wanted. Whatever. We can just look it over one more time. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Clearly, that was the case. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Yes. And yeah, you're thinking about probably this. This piece of the evidence list is clearly related to the case on trial because we're talking about SL9, and Edgeworth has half the list, so that's relevant. The piece of the jar, which we found in there, we ended up, it was part of SL9, which we're still talking about, so it clearly has relations to the case on trial. Those two were perfectly fine, legally speaking. This, however, was just a piece of cloth. Had no idea what it was for. Just to let you guys know— would you please stop that? Just to let you guys know why these two were able to be presented and this one couldn't. Because these two were clearly SL9. This one, it could have been from anything, anywhere. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth. Nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying that I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here is the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between this cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and... Sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented? What was shown only a few moments ago. No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. So let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes! No! It was then that you personally approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved it. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant. The killer was you! Oh, that was hard. That was very hard to do. This is the one killer thing I wanted to do, and oh my god, that was very hard to do. I should have taken a deeper breath when I did that. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum! For years he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman. Yeah, that's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me. I forgot how to do his voice and I don't care at this point. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Dick Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden, he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking the evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm gonna hand all this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it. That accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. Sorry, Worthy. I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Leaving the prosecution's car aside. How How could you get Miss Sky involved in all this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments and the glove. Yeah. Looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. I'm sorry if my voice keeps changing with Damon Gant. My voice is like kicking in and out now. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well. Much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon closer examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? Me. You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me? What a shame. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. Well, looks like it's my time to say goodbye. Oh, Uddy? What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator, and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are long gone now, Uddy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Wright here, and good old Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new beginning. There are two things I want you to understand, Lana. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. And second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years, from the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today. So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered. I'm sorry, Miss Sky. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My, what high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you, and yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it! I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky? Yes, Your Honor? You are innocent of murder. However, although the Chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all this? Why are you smiling? It's just been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains. Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. A long and arduous road, and we finally got to the truth. That is all. Court is adjourned. Oh, man. At long last, it's finally over. Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended, I can see why Mia Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me. Oh, I'm not interrupting anything, Piles. This poor guy. Guess I am. I'll come back later. He's always in the wrong time. Oh wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run around while on duty? And to top it off, you're calling me here? I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. Oh, are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me? That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone. That sentence came out wrong tonally. Lana! Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago? That day was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis! I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake. But now, I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis... I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it's from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least, that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe? Me? Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. Where was he hiding? I just came to say congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right. Well, I best be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realized today that I can't correct my mistakes.
Mr. Edgeworth.
Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right.
You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone.
I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now.
But Edgeworth?
Who knows? Given it enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I continue on as a prosecutor.
Edward, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma. They were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright, and because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. Ah, I get it. Would it be this? Because I had one half, and he had the other half. If we didn't work together, we never would have thought of putting it together to create a picture. Or am I completely overthinking this and I'm about to make a fool out of myself? Haha! That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list, and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth. If you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Edgeworth, what are you gonna do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can let what happened... Huh? Oh, you can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know. It seems I owe you my thanks too, Wright. But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. I better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon. It seems we both have a lot to learn, and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation. It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trucking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. But I thought you said it was okay. Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Oh, well. Well, you'll see. Mr. Wright here's the one who'll be footing the bill. Huh? What? Why, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Huh? Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it I suddenly feel like I want to scream? I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together? Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. And that is the end of this story. Oh my god. It took 6 months of hiatus, but I finally finished this goddamn series. Ugh. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days at the prosecutor's office. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. Then, I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. I mean, this is one of the first games I played that I really paid attention to the story, because it forces you to pay attention to it, and this really also had me enjoy mystery. For the first time, I enjoyed a mystery. Like, yikes, I thought I was a goner a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation at the chief's office. If we penalize you anymore, it'll be worse than firing you. Well, that's what they said. Well, it just goes to show, you can't shut me off that easily. Yeah, it's the first mystery that I've actually played, and I couldn't believe it. I really liked the concept. I was able to solve the mystery on my own, and I was really a stubborn middle schooler. I would not ask anyone for help to solve it. It's like, I'm gonna solve this on my own, I don't care. I am stuck as hell for 2 hours, but I will solve it on my own. Really, it was that bad sometimes. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them, though. Someday I'm gonna make a detective. Yes, sir, then I can be just like that Dick Gumshoe. Oh, you gotta set your sights higher, Meekins. But yeah, I like that little conversational tone where it's just like... it's just like funny bits. It's like the characters feed off each other with the funny bits, and it's like, And the Pink Panther, the Blue Badger, the Pink Panther, oh god, this is the wrong place for that. The Blue Badger is outside, dancing his life away. Yeah. Oh. I'm sorry, never, it broke. Okay. That thing has given us enough grief. It's time for it to retire and be broken. Oh god. But yeah, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this series, and thank you for being patient with me. What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with a steak lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. She's seen one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, it looks like you did it. You even gave Bambina back a smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water? But yeah, thanks for being patient with me. I know it's been 6 months and there's like technically like 5 or 6 videos left, but I was really hiatus out of it. Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. As a farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu, the Right Way Lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. Oh yeah, that's true. I don't want to eat sweet and then bitter. That'd be no way to finish a food. But yeah, I thank you again for those of you that have watched. I really do thank you for sticking by me this whole entire time. I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, he said he's been doing something or other for how many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I better be... Oh no, I've got my gavel. Sorry, got to go. All the characters clearly had their little quirks, even the killers and the witnesses that you only see for like one episode. I mean, one case, but yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I keep drowning back between the voice, the talking, and then my train of thought. I keep getting like thrown off, so it's like it's like a jumbled mess. Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. Still, I can't go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming! Well, see you around, Nick. Yep. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll do the other two games sometime, but not in the near future. This actually takes a lot out of me to keep doing these voice talkings and all that. It's like, and for an hours at a time. I make these videos in bunches, like 3, 4 at a time, so I'm talking like 4 hours non-stop. I'm dead. Mr. Edgeworth? Oh, this guy. Mr. Edgeworth? I brought you your tea. What's going on? Yep. And we'll see more about these characters later. I mean, this is only just their first game. And later on, you get to see... Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is just open this book. And one last bit of interaction. But yeah, it's like, these games, they connect to each other very well. It talks about the growth that Edgeworth and Maya and Wright will go through. So I will definitely play the other two later, but not for a little while, for sure. Besides, I have other plans that I want to play, and I'm gonna stick with those. When Lana was detective, and Emma, the sister that looked up to her. But yeah, that's Phoenix Wright, 8th Attorney. Rise from the Ashes completed, and thank you again for going on this crazy ride with me, and for holding out for me this long while I was on my hiatus. Really. It's a great series. I hope you guys do end up playing this, and really, that's it. That's really it. Thank you again. I know I keep saying thank you, but really it's a funny feeling to have finally finished something that you worked on for a while and then see it over, that you're never gonna do it again, at least for this game. Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney is what I mean, so yeah. But yeah, that's it. And I'll play the second and third game sometime in the future. Thanks again. And I'll catch you on the next game that I end up playing. Later, people.